Who is Angantýr? In Hyndluljóð, stanza 9, it says on the second row, Ôttarr the young and Angantýr. Ôttarr ungi och Angantýr in Old Norse. Angantýr is mentioned multiple times in our Old Norse lore. So, who is Angantýr? Abrahamic translators say it's Odin by another name, but that doesn't shed any light on who Angantýr is and why Odin bears that name of Angantýr. Remembering, in the summertime, this is actually more of how our cosmic bear is on the horizon, and as it's coming across like this, it comes down in, and then as we progress toward the mighty winter, the Fimbul winter, Thor leads in our bear, and then as things continue to rotate, our bear is then emptied upon the north, the holy northern lands, and then Odin is swallowed by that bear. Because remember, this is the frozen fen, the darkened water, the Fimbul winter, the three giantess maidens, the bitter cold, the angry winter that Odin presides over. Odin, the ruling nighttime sky god, for Grimmu means night, and Grim was the name given to Odin by the beginning gods, by the Ginragin, the beginning gods. So as we progress towards spring, and then the holy mead horn is being emptied upon the north, and reincarnation is being taken place, then Odin is swallowed by the Fenris wolf. Covered that in my last video. So who then is Angantýr? Angantýr is the equivalent of our druids, our shamans, our mighty sages. Odin is oneself greater. Etymology helps understand these words and their meanings. They can't go strictly to Icelandic or any of the Scandinavian languages as a translator, because languages change. If you just look in the United States of America, if you go from the colonial days to present day English, the people of colonial days would probably not be able to understand how we speak now. And we may not even be able to understand how they speak. You look between the northern United States and the southern United States. There's a difference in dialect. You go to I've got 1800s books that pointed out that from one valley to the next in Sweden, the dialect was different. So latching on to one Scandinavian language and saying that is the closest to the Old Norse is not entirely true. But etymology sheds a lot of light. And so Ungen, okay, in my last video I pointed out that how Ungen was this, it used in that stanza with, it meant affliction. That Fimbul winter was a time of affliction. And anyone who's been through those bitter 3 months, those three giantess maidens of a northern winter, understands that. So we look to the Aryan root. The Aryan root, A-N-G or A-N-G-H, means to choke, to strangle, compress, or afflict. So an affliction. The Old Norse ungen means a sweet odor, anoint, unguent. It has an Aryan root of A-N-G or A-N-G-H. So there we have the choking, the compressing, strangling, afflicting. Odin is swallowed. Odin is swallowed by the wolf, and he becomes Angantýr. Well, we know Tyr is the ruling day sky god. He is the ruling god of Mother's Time, the ruling masculine god of Mother's Time, those daytime cycles of the year, from Vår to Or to spring through Samhain, that is mother's time. And then there's that overlapping on each side. And Týr's daytime, day sky ruling god is in play during that portion of the year, whereas Odin puts on the dark blue mantle. He is called Grimmu by the Ginragin, the beginning gods. He is called night by men. So Odin presides over that time of darkness. And this is all meaningless if it's not applicable. What we're doing in our books, and I'm doing in these videos, is showing you what the Old Norse actually says and translating it in line with northern nature and northern cosmic movements, because that is what our ancestors used to convey these messages to us. Not only to us now, but they did this backwards in our blood memory. These are the stories based on nature and northern cosmic movements that were handed down generation to generation to generation that made us as we sit here. So Angantýr is meaningless unless we can apply Angantýr to our lives. So what are the applications of Angantýr? We have a time when we have summertime. Bear moves into the den, and then autumn, and then Bear is awakened by Freya's wake-up call and comes up out of the den. Comes out of the den, and then something new is birthed. That is what is being related to us. So right off the bat, we have childbirth. We have a newborn baby coming out of the womb. Do we have a choking, strangling, compressing, or afflicting? Yes, we have all of those. We have contractions. We have a narrow channel. And we have the baby come out and cries. And then there's something new. There's a new life, a reincarnated ancestor into a new baby. We have transitions of life. We go from that little baby as we grow, and different responsibilities are put on us. We have school start, and then we have peer pressure that affects us. We have formalized education, real or imagined on their facts. But these start to influence us. And we have the same compressing taking place. And then we get to an age where we're out into the world, and now we have to defend the mound. We have to defend our traditions and our lore. And that may mean making a stand against what is popular. See, now there's a choking going on. If you are only going with the flow to be popular, then see, there's no affliction going on. There's no choking. There's no growth. You don't come out stronger. You don't come out oneself greater. You just float downstream with the rest of the dead fish. Then you have the transition of death. You are going to shed this cycle's physical flesh and await rebirth. So you are going to pass back into the folk soul. What you have added to that valiant spirit that you were gifted from Mother Goddess Freya, that spirit of Odin, that spirit of our bear, you are going to add to it or detract from it during the course of your physical existence. And then, based on the choice of Mother Goddess, you will receive reincarnation. What does this reincarnation mean? It's spoken of in our lore. It's spoken of in most northern lores that I have researched. All right, it's every one of them. So what is this reincarnation process? There is a rebirth that's going to take place of us in a new body on ancestral lines. But how does that happen? Is it just like easy peasy, here I am, boom? Or is there a process? Is there just like this life has its own struggles that you must conquer, then why would that be any different to receive reincarnation? Before it is the valiant who receive reincarnation. It is not the meek. The meek don't receive reincarnation. The meek are easily forgotten. They serve the purpose of subjugation and servitude. They are the slaves. This reincarnation process, though, if we look to nature and we watch the struggle in nature, there is a fight that goes on, a fight for survival in nature. That is, you have look at a bird's nest. You're going to have different birds go after that bird's nest. And you're going to have a fight for survival of the parents to defend the young that are in that bird's nest, even while they're in egg form. And then those birds in that nest are going to have to break through that eggshell. And then once they do, then they're going to have to be fed by the mother and the father. And then they're going to have to struggle to fly or plummet to death. Look at a little seedling that falls to the earth. It's got all these big trees above it. It's got other seedlings that fell down. There's only so much light that shines through. That little seedling has got to fight through the soil to burst through the ground, and then struggle and bend itself to find light to grow and become strong. Why would we look at a reincarnation process any different than what our ancestors have given us in lore, saying there is a struggle. There is a time of struggle, and then there is a time of growth. Now, Odin presides over this time of struggle. Odin presides over these winter nights. The frozen fen, the three giantess maidens, those bitter, angry maidens. We hail Odin. We hail the spirit of Odin to honor him as we struggle to survive. We are not expecting Odin to say, here is my blessing, children, now you will survive. We struggle to survive, to honor Odin. And we hail Odin during that time of struggle, during that time of darkness that we're in. And then, as we struggle, we have our eye on what? A golden age. We have our eye on a time of rebirth. A time of growth and sunshine and warmth and family, folk, and frith. And good times. But there's a time of struggle. And that's when you call on Odin. Not to do for you, but to watch as you do in his honor. With the strength of Odin, that spirit of the northern lands that forged our ancestors during those times of winter. Where do you think that strength comes from but your blood memory? So that is the applications in our life of Hail Odin. That is the applications of becoming Angantýr. And then as you age and you go through these different transitions, call them different caves of life. You enter a cave and you come out a new being, the next phase of life. You come out stronger, smarter. And then eventually you come out Angantýr. You are swallowed by the bear. And you come out the mighty sage, the druid, the shaman. You come out Angantýr. You have endured the struggles. You have the wisdom of the mighty sage, the old man, winter. You are Angantýr. Now, this self oneself greater, we have it in our Northern Paganism Exposing Abraham book. And we're waiting for the copyrightists and the publishers and everything to catch up to where we are. We're already well into our next book. There is a misconception in neo-paganism that Odin hung upon a windy tree. That's Abrahamic. Okay? Let me give you a couple lines of Havamal 139. Because Odin does not expect us to sacrifice ourselves to death to attain a host of Odin. Odin is called Herja Father, the father of hosts. We have the mentality in neo-paganism is that somehow Odin miraculously becomes this father of hosts without a host. Okay, what we have to remember is that our northern pagan ancestors had huge families. Okay, Abrahamic times, high taxation, just the requirement for both mom and dad to work to support different things. Now, if you want to talk about a sacrifice, okay, then maybe sacrificing some luxuries to have a host, to have offspring. So many children were had by our northern pagan ancestors because that was seen as a blessing from Mother Goddess. Large families increase. And now people have a couple because that's all they can afford. Well, wait a minute. We have all these valiant ancestors waiting for reincarnation. Hordes of them. A large host of Odin that is awaiting reincarnation. And we have neo-pagans that are either not having children or having one or two children. And now if there's medical conditions, why you can't, trust me, I understand. But if you can have children and you're not having children, and then you're talking about a host of Odin for All Father, for Herja Father, then that there's no way those two things marry together. The father of hosts needs a host. He needs a heathen army. So, Havamal stanza 139. Again, this is in our Northern Paganism Exposing Abraham book. I'm going to go right to where we broke down the stanza. I'm not going to give you the whole thing. It says, Vik at hik. Now, that Vik, V-E-I-T-K, is a contraction. Poetry has it all the time. It means know I, or I know. Okay? So that line is know I, and then the H-E-K-K is, it's to hang, to be suspended, or to cling to. Okay, so when you have, okay, did Odin hang upon a windy tree? Hang, or did he cling to? Okay, so that's the very first row. Vindya Mithya. Okay, so Vindya does not mean windy. It means to twist, to wring, or to wind. Vindya. Mithya, or Mithya. Methi is not specifically a tree. The word is etymologically a mast. Okay, so we're talking about a mast, a famous roof beam, a center pole, a trunk of a world tree. So we have to wind, Methi, mast, upon. Vindya Methya. Neater alunio. Okay. Knights, all 9. Geri undathur. Geri is gory, undathur, wounded. Ok given othni. Okay, and given or to give, and ok and giffen, to give, to grant, othni. So Odin is given. Selfumir. Selfum, oneself, mir, more or greater. Selfumir. Athemithi, upon that mast. Odin is given oneself greater upon that mast. What mast? No, I cling to. Winding upon the mast. What mast? The famous roof beam. The transition. This is nature and the cosmos relating to us, that Odin is given oneself greater as we pass through these phases of darkness, and we struggle, and we're choked, and we're afflicted, and we fight, and we overcome. We don't beg for Odin to do for us. We do in the spirit of Odin. As we pass through the fire. What fire? Baldur is burning, bleeding down below the horizon. The fire that is the sun that never rises. Baldur is not the sun. He is the light given off. His name means blazing, but he is not the sun. He is that blaze. The word bald comes from that blaze. And so as the sun skirts the horizon and it reddens the horizon during a northern winter, the spirit of Odin passes through the fire, passes through that fire, and it emerges with growth and prosperity and a golden age and family, folk, and frith. And this is the applications of Angantýr to our life. And that is what Angantýr means. It means you are swallowed by the bear during that Fimbul winter called Ragnarok. And you come out stronger. You come out oneself more. Selfumir. Until you get to a point where you are Angantýr. And you are, on each phase, you are anointed by Mother Goddess for going through that phase, for overcoming. So, that's who Angantýr is. That's the end of this video. The only way our folkish paganism is learned by others is to like, share, and subscribe. Tills nästa gång. Good hälsa.